Now that our pre-shading is down, as you can see, you know, plenty of mistakes going on all over this. Again, we don't need to worry about it. So now we're going to come in with our main colour, which is going to be XF76. It's really cool because we get to just spray top, bottom, everywhere. No need for any masking. Makes it nice, quick and easy. We're just going to open this up. I do recommend, I mean, getting some sort of a paint stir. I know Tamiya does a nice one, and just make sure that, you know, it's all nice, which this one looks all nice. All right, so that's all nice and mixed. Right, and we're going to add this to our colour cup. Now the thing is when we come round to doing pre-shading, we don't want to kill this off. This is why we haven't got to worry about mistakes, right? We can go off and we could spray on this, we could have great coverage and make all this pre-shading disappear. So this is why we haven't got to worry about mistakes. So I'm just getting some X20A thinners, a pipette, and we want to start off with our first coat just being maybe something like I don't know, like 40% paint to thinners. Right, first coat, a little bit thinner than normal, but you know, a bit thicker than really what you want at the end of doing this. And then we're just going to nicely stir this all in. Right, and this is a good colour, by the way. I know in the instructions they say mix this and mix that, but you know, I don't go with like the brand of paints. I like to just, you know, whatever's the best colour match, go with that. And I've used this before doing zeros, and it is really good. So again, we're going to start off with, let's just check our flow, and we're looking good. Let's see what it's like on the model. So we'll start off with this wing, and we're just going to do our usual light misty coat, right? And then I'm just going to cut to air and let that dry just to get the sticking process going. As you can see, not really great coverage with that first misty coat, right? And that does dry pretty quickly. So now we're going to come in with our first coat, where we nicely spray this nice and even all over. Right, as soon as it's looking wet, we are moving along. Right, and what the first thing you'll notice is, yes, this black is starting to disappear a bit, but the black's just coming through, so we're starting to see the weathering process of how this is actually working. Now, while it's wet, it's going to be a bit deceiving, right? If we just cut to air and just start drying this off, the black will come through a bit more. So you've got to make sure it's dry between these coats, right? But that first coat has given us some half decent coverage. So this is where I really recommend, you know, for beginners, advanced people, you know what, let's start thinning our mixture a bit more, right? And then we want to mix that. And what this does is makes the mixture more transparent. Right, it means we don't have as good coverage, but this is what we want. We want to control our coverage. We want to control how much paint goes down, so as we can just get that pre-shading just popping through just that right amount, that it gives our you know, our base coat not just a bland flat coat, but it kind of gives it that weathering. It pumps through that little bit of that black just to give us a nice interesting look and bit of weathering to it. So I've just spilt that a little bit, right? So I'm now going to check if that's dry. That does seem quite dry. So now what we're going to do is with a thinner mixture. Right, again, we're going to do the same process. Right, now this is the second coat. Right, so I'm doing the same process. It gets wet, and I'm moving along and not letting it pull up. Right, now this second coat is really starting to give us good coverage. Really kind of starting to kill off that black, right? So this is where we need to start being careful, right? So we want to again make sure it's dry, because it can be deceiving and the black comes back, right? And we want to be careful with the next coat. The next coat could be, you know, the difference between killing it off and getting it just right. So again, right? Again, I'm going to start thinning this even more, right? So we could end up with something like 20% paint to thinners, right, at this point, which isn't going to give us great coverage. It might mean that we have to go off and do coat after coat after coat, but we've got that control. We can make sure we are going to get that pre-shading just coming through. Do remember to sort of blast a bit through, because there is a reservoir here and that's got our old mixture in it. We want it spraying our new mixture, right? Now what we could also do at this stage is, you know, sort of look, you know, I've made mistakes, right? If you remember, you know, here I did some mistakes. I did do some deliberate what was it, spidering effect just here. Maybe a little bit hard to see. I mean, with this going down, it does, oops, I had a bit of paint on the end of there, but it does have that bit of spidering just down. It as sort of really just putting this on has kind of blended it in and sort of removing those mistakes. But if you really wanted to, at this stage with this the way it is, I'm kind of thinking we're about to sort of kill this off, so you may want to kind of just do patches, right? Not spray it all, because I'm kind of like looking at this and this is getting a bit light there, maybe the pre-shading's a bit light here and here, so maybe I don't want to spray there. That's kind of maybe looking just right, but maybe just here, you know, that's needs knocking back a bit. Maybe just here, that needs knocking back a bit. Right, just target those areas where you feel, oh, that would do knocking back a bit. Right, and just getting it there just right. Right, so hopefully you could sort of see just quickly there, just a bit of touching up, sort of, all that could do with knocking back a bit, maybe a little bit there as well. You know, I mean, that is basically done. And what we have there is what is supposed to be just a flat colour is now showing some nice weathering. And you could sort of weather this to whatever intensity that you want. I mean, you've got the control. You make sure you thin down your paints, right? If you think that maybe that's coming out too much, you know, put another coat on until it's like just a pinch coming through, or maybe you want it to be a bit more weathered, maybe not sort of put as much coverage on. You know, however you want to weather it is, you know, up to how much you put the coverage on or not. But that is looking pretty good right now, and I think it's a great easy technique. You've only really got to be careful about actually killing it off at this stage, right? Because it would be a shame if your paint was too thick and you sprayed on one last coat and it can just kill it all off in just one coat, which is why we thin them. But if you can sort of get that control by thinning it, you can get it just right. And as I say, any mistakes you've done in the pre-staging stage, I mean, it is easy just to feather it out with you know, the final coat that we've just put on. So there is pre-shaded. I'm going to pre-shade the rest of this now, and we'll move on with the next bit.